Welcome friends to another r/am I the jerk here video. Would you be the jerk for willingly selling food to a kid that you know goes against their parents' wishes? We'll find out, but first a story from Over Magazine 6783. Am I the jerk for choosing my niece over my kids? All names are fake for privacy. My kids Mike, male 18, and Mara, female 15, are very close together, but hate their cousin Rosa, female 14. Every time they're together, they fight. My ex-wife has primary custody of Mara, so I only have her 1 week in a month, and Mike usually joins us on that week. Rosa's parents are emotionally abusive, so she spends most of her time with me, except for the week that Mara and Mike come over. She spends that week with her other uncle, Nick. I was supposed to go on a trip for work. It was on the week that Mara and Mike were at my place. I wanted to take them with me and we could spend time together on my free time. The day before we leave, Rosa called me crying about something her parents had done, and told me that she went over to Nick's house and he wasn't home. I called Nick and he said his wife is sick and they're currently at the hospital and can't take Rosa. I took Rosa and brought her to my home and told her I'm taking her to a trip next day. From the moment we got there, the kids started to fight. After a few hours, they told me they won't go to a trip together and I either have to take my kids or Rosa. I tried to talk to them and convince them just to be nice to each other for a few days, but it didn't work. In the end, they told me that I have to choose, and I couldn't take Rosa back to an abusive home, so I took my kids back to their mom's home and went on the trip with Rosa. Both my kids are mad at me now. They say I'm favoring and choosing Rosa over them. I think I made the right choice, but everyone seems to disagree with me, so am I the jerk? Considering Rosa's home life, it's hard for me to blatantly say that OP is the jerk. But overwhelmingly, the sentiment does seem here from a lot of people that OP is the jerk for basically seeing their kids 25% of the time while giving Rosa the other 75%, and essentially pushing their own kids to the side. So just that alone is probably no great surprise why the kids are feeling kind of slighted or upset. What do you guys think? Is OP the jerk here? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Our next story is from No Distribution 9566. Am I the jerk for refusing to cook dinner for my stepmother and her guests after she's been refusing to let me eat the food she cooks? 16-year-old male here. My dad married my stepmom just about a year ago. She didn't want me to live here and wants me gone. I've insisted that I should stay as I don't want to live with my mom. Her husband is a piece of work, so we're always clashing. She announced last month that she wouldn't allow me to eat anything she cooks or cook anything that she buys, and I should arrange my own food completely separately, down to the ingredient level, including salt, because I'm not her problem to deal with. This is annoying, but anyway, I can handle it, and I didn't want to act entitled, so I started buying and cooking my own food. We've been going like this since then. Her sister had an accident a few days ago, and on the day of the accident, stepmother texted me in the afternoon saying she's bringing the sister's children over, and they'll arrive around midnight, asking me to buy groceries and snacks and make a late dinner for them. I never replied to her and didn't do anything. I have to say that while for a few hours it didn't look good for her sister and had to go into surgery, it ended up being successful, and she will thankfully make a full recovery. They came, she noticed there's no food, and they were indeed hungry, so she was angry at me, and I told her that it's not my problem to deal with. And she said I'm being a jerk, and I said takes one to know one. She ended up ordering pizza. My dad told me that I was out of the line, and I should have just done what she wanted me to do because it was an emergency. And I should have done a favor for her and it would have gone a long way to improve our relationship. I told him that our relationship has always been hopeless because she hated me for no reason. So there's nothing I can do that can make her hate me any less. And at this point, I've accepted it and don't care anymore. He said it's not true and I'm now grounded. I think OP's not the jerk in this situation. Being 16, it's not exactly like they're at an age where they should be expected to just afford everything for themselves and move out and they only got them. I'm of the opinion, stepmom or not, that despite the emergency, which, to be fair, ordering a pizza would have been more than easy and fine and covered things, the fact that they're not willing to ever help OP out on anything, they want OP to fend for themselves. Because of that alone, I think OP's in the right. This next story is from Born Replacement 366. Am I the jerk for asking my team member where she was when I noticed her away/offline status while she was work from home? My team at work does 4 days work from office and 1 day work from home. This is because we have sensitive physical paper files to work with as part of our work, so we still have to come into the office. One of my team members, Sarah, had appealed to do 2 days work from office and 3 days work from home instead, on the basis that she has 2 kids to look after. Although other team members also have kids and Sarah had no problem coming in 5 days a week before the pandemic, I relented to the request after she became upset and accused me of being inflexible and started crying in my office, and also checking with the rest of my team to make sure they were okay with it. I've noticed of late that when Sarah's work from home, she has a tendency to go offline or away on Skype during office hours. She's usually offline or away for more than an hour each time. Yesterday, I finally asked her about it and told her that other people, internal clients and external stakeholders, have come to me for work matters that she's handling because they could not locate her. One external stakeholder even told me that Sarah was on leave. When I clarified that Sarah wasn't on leave, the stakeholder was bewildered. But she's been offline the whole morning. Sarah was defensive and sarcastically apologized for not being there to reply to messages immediately. She then added that as long as she got her work done, it didn't matter when she was online or offline. I told her she didn't have to be online for the entire 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. duration, but minimally from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. with a break for lunch, so that A, people can reach her if they need to, and B, other team members don't notice and start following her example, particularly since Sarah is senior to the others. Sarah was unhappy, and since then I've come to be aware that she's been saying things about me to the rest of the team, including how I'm a dinosaur, still working according to former working norms. So, am I the jerk? I think OP has every right to ask away here. The luxury of work from home is you can step away for 5 minutes here or there, or let's be real, you can work in your underwear or your pajamas or whatever if you want to. But what Sarah's doing here isn't some 4-day work week thing. This isn't some new age working method. This is just them deciding to take an hour off here and an hour off there an hour, here an hour. If she's contracted and paid for those hours, they should be there. This isn't some long-distance relationship thing where they're like, oh, stop being upset where I didn't reply in 5 minutes. This is a job you're getting paid for. You agreed to be there for those hours. You negotiated for it. This next story is from Silly Kangaroo 5309. Am I the jerk for refusing to babysit my step-siblings? I, 16-year-old male, live mostly with my mom and see my dad every other weekend per my choice. My dad's married to Shayna, and she has 3 kids under the age of 8. Shayna was recently diagnosed with cancer, and they started calling on me to babysit so she could rest, or babysit so she could go get treatment and stuff. I said no. I don't want to be stuck babysitting your kids all the time, and I don't really want to be a part of their family. I was never super close to my dad, and I'm not close to Shayna or her kids either, and I don't really want to be. My dad's family don't accept his stepkids, so they won't help out, and Shayna has no family in the US anymore. So they've been pretty pissed at me for not wanting to help them out. When I'm with them for my dad's weekends, which I do need to go to, the judge said in court, Mom needs to make sure I keep some relationship with my dad while I'm a minor, and even threatened to fine her because I asked if she'd be in trouble if I stopped seeing my dad. They'll often get me to watch the kids, or it'll be a big deal that I don't help them more. They also complain that I make it so obvious that I don't want to be with them. Shayna had a bad reaction to her treatment during the week, and I was asked to babysit Saturday so she could rest and maybe go to the ER if she got worse. When I didn't, my dad blew up on my phone saying I was being a jerk and how dare I treat one of my parents the way I'm treating Shayna. I told him he was hardly a parent to me, so he could screw right off with saying Shayna's one of my parents. He said babysitting would be no big deal and would be a great chance for me and the kids to bond. That refusing to is abandoning them when they could use an older brother. Am I the jerk? This is one of those situations where I think if you want to help them out, bless you. If you don't, they don't have any right to force you, and they especially don't have any right to try to guilt trip you into making you do it. And let's be real, expecting that you can fall back on a 16-year-old to be the one to come over and always watch your kids, that alone just I don't think is very realistic. By the way, if you're enjoying these stories, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below so you never miss any of my daily videos. Every video has awesome stories like our next one from Haunting Gear 8727. Am I the jerk for secretly going to the dentist? Background information: I live in my boyfriend's country. I speak the language at an advanced level, but not fluent, especially with medical terms. So I have severe anxiety and dental phobia. I haven't been to the dentist in years, and my boyfriend was hinting I should go. We agreed I would get anti-anxiety pills first and then go. He was going on a business trip, and I wanted to get my anxiety meds, but there wasn't enough time before, so I did it when he was abroad. Then I went to the dental clinic. Everything went well, and I told him about my appointment afterwards. I expected a happy and proud reaction that I did something I was scared of, but instead, he was livid. He said I deceived him and did this behind his back. You did what I really hate, and you did it alone to avoid the situation with me, while deceiving me. And I think you're a true coward who avoids scary situations. Honestly, it is true. I was scared of his reaction if I have cavities. I thought he would blame me more than the dentist. So he's angry because I didn't tell him about the appointment or bring him with me. And he thinks I'm also getting scammed because they told me I need to come back in for a deep cleaning since it's been so long. Yet, when he goes to a clinic, he doesn't ask permission or let me know beforehand. Plus, just last week at the airport, he forced me to do something alone because I have to be independent. And the week before, he didn't go with me to my haircut for the same reason. It seems like mixed signals to me. He ruined the good mood I had after overcoming a fear of mine. And it also feels very controlling. What should I do? Well, first of all, I think OP's not the jerk here, and I think it's great that they overcame their fear of going to the dentist. I think a lot of us have that fear, maybe not even necessarily for whatever dental issues you may have, but just the hole it might burn in your pocket. I think this dude is straight up Katy Perry, hot and cold. Dude is flip-flopping, weirdly controlling in this situation. OP either needs to call them out on it and get that settled, or maybe start thinking about the big picture. This next story is from Venus251. Am I the jerk for not telling my friend my husband is my husband before she started telling him off? My husband does this thing where he'll pretend not to know me and start flirting with me in public. I was out with a childhood friend who I'd lost contact with, and we ended up at the same place my husband and his friends were. He noticed me first and decided to come up to me and flirt. I jokingly told him I didn't think his wife would like him speaking to me like that, and he said she wouldn't mind. I then told him my husband would definitely mind, and he was trying to convince me he wouldn't. His friend was making conversation with my friend, but she turned to him and started telling him off for harassing me and trying to cheat and get me to cheat. I told her it was fine, but she was so heated that she kept going, and anytime I tried to explain, she kept cutting me off. My husband found it funny and let her go on for ages before he introduced himself and told her he was my husband. My friend was angry at me for not telling her before she started telling him off and for letting her humiliate herself. I tried to apologize, but she said she needed space. Am I the jerk? I would say OP is the jerk here for even if they had to reach out and grab them by the shoulders and, make them look them in the eyes and say, "It's okay, they're my husband." That said, after the fact, the friend finding that out and saying, "Well, I need some space now, you made me humiliate myself." I feel like that's also a little overreacting. But yes, OP should have done whatever they could to jump in there. Our next story is from Treacle Right 282. Am I the jerk for selling food to a teenage customer, knowing this goes against his parents' wishes? I have a deli in a small community. Recently, this kid who's 13 or 14's been coming and buying some food that are apparently forbidden in their religion. I don't want to mention specifics. Think something like pork for Muslims or Jewish people. They're neither Muslim nor Jewish, I'm just making an example. I'm not one to judge people for the food they eat. If you pay for it, you'll get it. I'm running a business here and I don't want to turn customers away. His parents came to me and asked me not to sell him these specific items which he's not allowed to eat. And I said, this is not really my business. This sounds like a matter between them and their child, and really there's nothing I can do here. The mother said the son's going through a phase and I can help, but I just said no because nobody's forcing the child to come here, and quite frankly, if I don't sell it, the kid goes somewhere else. It's not as if I'm the only one selling this forbidden food around. He can buy it from 10 other places in a 5-minute walk. The mother said then, you could have been 10% of the solution instead of 0%. And they were upset and left disappointed. I explained it to my wife and she said, to my surprise, that I could have helped them out, and the way I dismissed them was rather jerkish. So that's why I'm here to see what people think. I think OP's not the jerk. I think there's a couple ways you could look at this. The first is, rather bluntly, you're not in the business of trying to help people make dietary decisions. You're there to sell food to people who want and will pay for it. And the second is, you could have some consideration to the kid, their religion. But frankly, I'm of the opinion that if this kid, 13 or 14, is coming up to you and something that isn't illegal, and they want to buy it, and they're giving you their money for it, who are you to say no to this kid's face? Our next story is from Positive Ratio 5472. Am I the jerk for not telling my wife my friend's son is biologically mine? So about 7 years ago, my friend asked me to donate sperm so she and her wife could have a baby. I told my wife when we started dating that I had donated, but we don't see the mother often, so she never added it up. The mother, who I'll call Amy since it's what her wife calls her, and I see each other a few times a year nowadays. I need to stress that he is not my son in any sense of the word, but the biological one. There was a ton of paperwork saying I had no responsibility for him, had no parental rights, etc. All I was providing was DNA. So a week or so back, we have our annual 4th of July barbecue, and Amy and her wife and son come. So as we're cleaning, Amy catches me in the kitchen to inquire about my health, diabetic, and is asking if it's hereditary and whatnot since it's a recent diagnosis. Well, my wife's little brother overheard us talking and, not thinking, severely developmentally challenged, proceeds to tell my wife in front of her entire family, including some cousins. So obviously my wife comes in and starts asking questions. She's more upset than angry that I never told her. So Amy and her wife take my wife to lunch a few days later and explain all the legality and paperwork, and that in all of our eyes I just gave them a gift. That smooths things over and my wife understands and things are back to normal with us. However, her cousins have told everyone now, and I keep getting messages about what a jerk I am for hiding this from her. They hope she leaves me, etc. Am I the jerk? My wife, her mother, and sister have been trying to tell her cousins to lay off, but they keep saying that they should be on their side instead of mine. Honestly, I'm a little conflicted on this one. OP straight up told them early on that they did donate, which implies that the wife could have asked more questions about it then, but it didn't seem to just be very in-depth. But at the same time, I know if I was in the wife's shoes, I would be left feeling like this is something I really wish they'd rather have told me. Because while I know there's no relationship actually going on here, to me it feels like a big deal knowing that they see each other a few times a year and it was something that they just had no idea of. So I think this is one of those not the jerk stories, but you also don't really feel great about it either. It's a little murky. Our next story is from Backyard Block 97. Am I the jerk for asking my in-laws the same questions they ask me? I, female 30, got engaged to my fiance a month ago. My in-laws, especially mother-in-law, are the type of people that ask a lot of questions. Personal questions at that. Their questions tend to be hurtful sometimes, but I tried not to get easily offended and make it personal. But those questions are getting out of control. Instead of lashing out and being rude, I've decided to answer these questions by turning it back on my in-laws and asking them the same questions they ask me. For example, whenever my fiance and I are visiting, my sister-in-law would ask, "Hey, when are you going to lose those pounds?" I go, "When are you going to lose those pounds? You've put up a lot of weight recently," while pointing at her eyes wide open. She'd get then easily offended. Father-in-law would ask, "When are you going to get your own house?" I go, "When are you going to get your own house? Aren't you 73 and still paying rent for your house?" They live in a rental house. He gets highly offended. Brother-in-law would ask, "When are you going to get married?" I go, "When are you going to get married? You don't even have a girlfriend yet." They've obviously picked up on my vibe, but the blow-up occurred last night when my fiance and I were at their house for dinner. Mother-in-law looked at me while I was eating and went on about kids and grandchildren. She then asked, "When are you going to start giving us babies?" My fiance looked at me in an "oh boy" type of way. I felt no hesitation. I looked at her and said, "When are you going to start giving us babies? That's what I want to know." The table went quiet, though some family members laughed. Mother-in-law and her daughter and husband had all types of angry faces. Then dinner was over. I got scolded by my fiance on the way home, telling me I was being rude with the way I talk back and respond to his family's innocent questions. Yeah, questions they've already asked a million times before, hard eye roll, but whatever. We got into an argument, and then he looked at me and said, "Why are you being hostile?" I said, "Why are you being hostile, getting in my face and yelling?" He yelled at me again, saying I'm driving him crazy and called me childish and immature, and then stormed off to the bathroom. Am I the jerk, really? I think OP's not the jerk here if they keep going on and on about these questions and they don't ever get the memo. At some point, I think you can only tolerate so many invasive, personal, uncomfortable questions before, one way or another, you kind of get angry and snap. Unless you're just an absolute saint like Mr. Rogers or something. Our next story is from Ink or Water 2. Am I the jerk for ordering for my sister's boyfriend while ordering all of the family-style plates at a restaurant? Last night, my parents asked to go out to dinner and offered to pay for everyone at a restaurant they wanted to share. They invited me, my husband, my sister, and her boyfriend. I'll call him Dave. My sister also invited a friend from work. This restaurant encourages family style, and that's what my parents wanted to pay for. Dave told the table that he would need a separate plate of noodles, pad thai, in addition to his share of the family-style plates. I started helping my mom build the list of dishes to order, and we asked everyone what they would like. Then I went over the list with everyone and asked if everyone was happy. My dad's nearly deaf, my mom can be shy, and my sister's happy with me organizing, so I would typically be the one to order in these scenarios. But I'm never making decisions for other people, just collecting the list and ordering it. When the waitress came back, I told her the list of shared dishes, about 8 total, and also ordered the pad thai for Dave, and clarified that it would be for him, not shared. She then asked him if he wanted to add a protein. Dave got super upset and started saying things like, "Wow, I really did not like that. Wow, this has never happened before. I have never had someone order for me. Wow, I really hated that. I'm going to have to process what just happened. Wow, I don't think I like that at all." I was kind of stunned. He was at the other end of the table and I didn't mean to upset him. I thought I was being nice by making sure his separate dish was ordered. And I didn't feel like I should be called out repeatedly in front of everyone. To be honest, I've been frustrated with Dave lately because he's living with my parents and sister and he doesn't contribute financially. I thought it was a bit rude for him to insist that my parents buy him an extra plate at a family-style dinner they were paying for. So adding on his very public outburst over me ordering for him has made me upset. I talked to my sister about how Dave's behavior last night made me frustrated, and she said I was being overly sensitive and that it was rude for me to order Dave's dish. Am I the jerk for ordering Dave's dish at the restaurant while I ordered for the table? I think OP is clearly not the jerk, and I think Dave needs to pop his pacifier back in his mouth. Why is Dave so distraught over this? They said they wanted an extra plate for pad thai, so OP, while ordering for the family-style table, clarified and ordered it for him. If they wanted something extra or something custom, Dave has every right to be like, "Oh, actually, can I have blah blah blah," or, adjust it. I don't understand where Dave is coming from at all here. Is Dave reeking of toxic masculinity here? Are they beside themselves because they can't control the situation? This next story is from OK Inflation 6349. Am I the jerk for refusing to stand up for my girlfriend when I felt she purposely started drama with my mother by bringing a cake to a birthday party? I've been with my girlfriend for 2 years, and we're talking about getting engaged soon. I love her wholeheartedly, and would choose her over my mom in a heartbeat. They don't get along at all, so it's come up plenty of times, and I think I've done a good job of siding with my girlfriend. They just flat out don't like each other, but they also seem to have some rivalry going on. My girlfriend's confided in me that she feels like she can't win. They're both guilty of being competitive, but she feels my mom has a lot of stuff over her. I of course don't agree, but it bothers her. My mom's a really good cook, but her baking is just okay. She can't decorate the cakes for crap, and my girlfriend recently discovered this. My mom's fiance had a birthday, and he wanted a banana cake with honey cream cheese frosting. My mom made it, and it wasn't great looking. Tasted good though. My girlfriend made the same cake but decorated it beautifully and decided to bring it to the party. It was a work of art, but I told her she was just trying to stir the crap, and I didn't want her to bring it. She decided to bring it, and I didn't stop her. When we got there, my mom saw her cake and didn't look happy, but didn't say anything. My mom's fiancé just flat out refused to touch my girlfriend's cake. I think he told the other guests to do the same because no one would eat it. I took a big piece and praised it, but she was clearly upset. She went over and tried to pressure him to eat it, and honestly, he was pretty rude. He told her he sees through her, he isn't going to touch her cake, but if it makes her feel better because she found one thing she's good at to take the win. He thanked my mom for his cake, kissed her, and then told my girlfriend she was bothering him and to get out of his face. I didn't do anything in the moment. She later asked me to talk to him and I declined. I said she brought the cake to stir crap, so I think his reaction was okay. She teared up a bit and said he was really mean and I need to say something. I still refused, and even when we left, I said goodbye, thanked them for inviting us, and was just normal. She accused me of being spineless and is still upset. So I think OP's not the jerk here. It's one thing to pick sides in a petty argument, but when somebody goes and does something like this that's super petty and puts somebody in the crossfires that had no skin in the game whatsoever, that being the mom's fiancé, it's pretty easy not to join in on that spineless, crap-stirring, petty action. I think OP did everything just about right. Also, I just want to say, I'm of the opinion that it does not matter at all what the cake looks like. If it tastes good, it is amazing, especially if somebody made it homemade specially for you. To me, that makes it a million times better than any crazy, immaculate, fondant creation. And our final story of the day is from Content Morning 2086. Am I the jerk for overstepping my role as godmother? So, about 3 months ago, my beautiful nephew was born into the world. A little context into this: me and my husband have been trying to have a child since we got married 4 years ago. Nothing has worked. We're at a point where it seems that adoption or surrogacy is our only real option. So when my sister got pregnant after only a few months of being married to brother-in-law, I got jealous. I won't lie about that. But my sister came to me and said that she knew what I was going through and wanted me to be her son's godmother. I was ecstatic and decided I would do whatever was needed to help my sister and brother-in-law out. Well, things have quickly gone sour. It all started when I just asked if it would be possible to be present when she gives birth. She got incredibly offended at a simple question and blew up at me. After my nephew entered this world, I was over to their house every morning to help out. I made my sister and brother-in-law breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and bought whatever they needed. I now think they may have been taking advantage of me on this, but I digress. Well, my brother-in-law quickly turned on me, claiming I was demasculinizing him by constantly second-guessing his decisions when it came to my nephew. My brother-in-law can be headstrong and just not think sometimes, so I only ever offered my advice when I felt it was appropriate. Sister also turned on me recently when she wanted brother-in-law to take the baby for a couple of hours so she could take a bath and watch a movie. I jumped in and said that I would help so they could maybe have some alone time together, and she got incredibly annoyed and asked me to leave that day. Well, last night I was over at their house again and offered to take the baby for a couple of hours. They told me no and said that I need to leave as soon as I'm done with the dinner that I made. I got pouty and said I wasn't getting enough time with my nephew, and my sister just lost it. Claims I'm an annoying presence who will not leave her alone for a single minute of the day. Brother-in-law chimed in and called me a backseat mother and told me in a very rude and explicit tone that I'm not their child's third parent. I did not partake in this and left, but I called my mother up and the rest of the family agree they were way out of line. Well, only an hour later, my sister called me back and said I'm no longer welcome at their house, and accused me of using our mom to shame her into letting me backseat mother her child, which is a complete lie. I called her out for exploiting my service and only giving me the role of godmother so I can be their chef and buy them things, and hung up. Well, now the rest of the family starting to change their tune, with people taking sides and either calling me a controlling backseat mother or exploited. So, am I the jerk in this situation? I'm gonna say OP is the jerk here. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the role of godmother is very much kind of just a symbolical one. I mean, in my life, my godmother has been around, but it was never like something where they're coming over and, spending hours taking care of me and making meals left and right for my parents. I don't know, it seems like to me OP was a bit too overexcited about what this role could mean and kind of acted like a sitcom aunt that keeps showing up unannounced to the house, seemingly has no life, nothing else to do but just be there with their siblings and their kids. Frankly, I don't judge them for getting upset because they probably just want some space. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another Am I the Jerk Here story that was way crazier than any of the ones in this video, click on that left video. Or if you missed my latest video, click on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.